Hi, I'm John Trishler with Specialty Performance Parts, and today we are going to do an installation video on the all-new bumper bracket kit to hold your 40-inch light bars and some other accessories that are coming out here in the near future. So let's go ahead and go through this installation video so you can see how easy it is to install this kit. The prototype brackets are already on here. As you see, those are silver. The production brackets are finished. Here they are. They're a matte black textured powder coat stainless steel. You don't have to worry about rust. They're going to attach in factory locations so that you don't have to cut, drill, or modify your truck. One of the big advantages to this kit, unlike the aftermarket bumpers that you need to buy to house big light bars like this, you no longer have to do that. You don't have to add that extra weight to your truck. You're going to be able to add these light bars and things without having to add several hundred pounds of weight, which is what those big bumpers do. Thing to keep in mind with some of those big bumpers, that does change the ride and the handling characteristics of the truck, because you have a couple extra 100 pounds of weight on the front of the truck. For those of you that had previous generation Raptors, you may remember how much different those heavier trucks drove than these do. That's one of the benefits of these new trucks for reducing the weight of the truck by coming out with an aluminum body, lighter weight frame, and so on. So again, when you put those big heavy bumpers on there, you are going to change that handling dynamic of the truck. This will not do that. This allows you to put those big light bars on the front of your truck without modifying it and by retaining the factory bumpers. Let's get started. Alright, so I went ahead and removed this bottom brace so we could get in there, you know, more like it was a stock truck. Obviously, we've got to take off the prototype pieces before we can put on the production ones. But the first step is going to be to move the fender flares out just a little bit. There's some screws behind here I'm going to show you real quick. You're going to take those little bolt screws out, and then this should pull aside. There's a couple clips here, and then that frees us up to be able to pull this piece right here out. So this has also got some clips on it. So there's a couple clips here, there's some behind here, and there's some up in here, and then here behind the headlight, or you know, in the middle of the headlight here behind this piece. And then this panel is going to pop off. That's going to give us room to attach our bracket to an existing location. So let's get started with that. Alright, so this should give us the light we need to be able to see here on our flare. So you'll see there's a little bolt here, and then there's another one right up here. These are the only two we really need to remove. Alright, the bolt size you need for that is a 7mm. So we're going to just remove that bolt. So they're pretty easy to spin out of there. Alright, so now that we've got those two bolts out of there, that frees this up so we can pull on it and pull the clips out. So you want to gently pull this out. Now, what I would recommend, and I've got right here, is a small little screwdriver. So let's go ahead and change angles because I want you to see these little clips that I'm talking about. Alright, so here's the front side of the flare. So now as I pull this out, gently, you don't want to chip the edges or the paint or anything like that, but as I pull this out, you should see right in here, there's a yellow, like a little yellow clip. And I don't know if you can see that on the, here, I'll move this aside. Right back there, do you see it? All right, so this little yellow clip, it has these little prongs. Use this little screwdriver to just pop these prongs out of that hole. Do you see what I'm talking about right here? And that allows you to get in there without scratching your paint or anything like that. That pulls that clip loose, and there's another one up here. You can gently get in there, push on those clips, those out of there without tearing up your paint. Alright, so here's our second clip. Did the same thing. Again, just gently get your little screwdriver in there where you can just push these aside so that'll pop out. So now you've got this popped aside, which you want. So, you know, get it to pull the clip out of the hole so that, you know, it stays away from this bottom piece. You want to keep that away from there so you can have room to work on this without that popping back in place. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is we want to pop this out, its clips, as you can see. Just give it a little pull here on the side. You're not going to hurt anything. Don't overdo it, obviously, but you're going to pull this out of the clips on this side first, and then you're going to work it around. Now I've already got this brace in here too, so obviously I need to be careful that I don't pull on that and scar up my front piece, but you won't have to worry about that. Now, we didn't open the hood on this, so we're going to go and open the hood because we can't get to the top piece without it. Alright, so the next thing you need to do is remove this little trim push pin from the top. We can use a little pry removal tool here, and that pops out. That frees up the top here so we can pull the rest of this panel out. And now we can pull on this, and then that last clip is going to pop out, which is right here. So, the back of our panel is going to look like this. You see you've got these little plastic clips here. Now you want to inspect this before you put it down just to make sure you've got them all accounted for. In case one slipped off, you can get a hold of that, put it back on your panel so it's ready to install when you're done. But now that this is out of the way, we've got access to everything we need to install this bracket kit. This bolt is already loose, which is good because you can see it stick out there a little further. I left that loose because there's no sense in tightening it back down since we're putting our new brackets back on anyway. But you're going to remove this bolt, which holds this top portion of this bumper to the other section. And then on the bottom side, let's see here, let's look in here first. Should be able to see it right there. I'm trying to get this to focus. Okay, so right here, that other bolt here. So here is our other bolt here on the back side. This is on the lower side of the bumper. Again, just below that opening. And this retains the bottom side of that bumper. So you're going to want to remove that and replace it with a larger bolt that is provided. That's going to hold, that's going to sandwich now your new bracket brace to the bumper as well. Alright, so let's get started. Let's start with our top plate. Alright, so make sure you got, you know which side is which. The big section is going to point to the middle. Alright, so this would be your passenger side. And you've got the hole right here. You want to take your stock bolt out. You want to replace it with your longer bolt. That's going to go through that hole. And you can get that started just a little bit. Alright, so I wouldn't tighten that all the way up yet. Leave that a little bit loose. That gives you some more room so that you can put your panel back on. And you're going to start down in this corner here. You need to start from the middle and work your way out. It's because these clips are angled. If you start on the outside, you're not going to be able to get them in the holes. So start from the middle, start with your bottom clip, clip it in place, then you can get the center section in here inside the headlight. You see that there? Get this into the headlight first because that is also angled. Alright, then slowly look back there and try to get these lined up. And just pat them in place here so that so you hear the clips snap in. Then you can do the same thing along the bottom. And then here on the outside, you'll see how this will line up in the groove and snap in place as well. Just like that. So now, make sure everything is tight. Now that is good, you got that back installed. You can put your push pin back in the top, and that's good. Then when you're ready, you can obviously push the clips back in the hole here on the fender flare and put those two bolts in. But now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten this bolt up here. So we've got that fairly tight. We're going to give ourselves a little tiny bit of flexibility there so that we can get our brace on and get that down flush. So now that we've got that on, we'll go ahead and find our brace. Alright, so now we've got our brace, and we will want to take the stock bolt out here at the bottom. And again, the reason that we're replacing these bolts is because the thread isn't quite long enough on the factory bolt. This gives you a longer bolt because this is very thick metal. Originally it didn't account for that with the factory bolt. So you're going to put the bolt through that hole there, and then you're going to put it through the factory location. Get that started. And before I tighten that down too much, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach my top section here by putting this carriage bolt in. And then I've got a lock nut that goes in the bottom, so I'm going to get that started. And I should have a wrench here that I can tighten that down with in just a second. So now I got my wrench here. I'm getting that tightened down the rest of the way. Again, this is a lock nut, so it'll keep it from coming off. Get that good and tight. You don't want that to move. Okay. Alright, so there is that. Now we can go ahead and tighten the bolt down here on the bottom. Now look at your bracket, make sure you've got a little bit of playroom here if you need to adjust it or turn it or whatever. You can turn it a little on here if you need to, although I've got it pretty tight right now. So you can look at that bracket, loosen it just a tiny bit. Look at that bracket there, and you can make an adjustment if you need to twist that just a little bit. Wherever you want to get it to, you can get it out of the way. Anyway, I just get it pretty tight, but not completely tight first. Once you've got that one tight, you can go ahead and tighten the other one down the rest of the way. And you should be good there on the one side. So we've got one side installed. Alright, so now we can go ahead and put our panel back in. Just line up your snaps, push those clips in, find our two little screws, and we'll put those in, and then we'll be done with this side. Alright, so now we have our other side prepped. We have our panel removed, just like the first side, and we're ready to install the driver's side bracket. So one thing to note, you really want to get this cord for your light bar behind here before you put your panels back on. So what I did was I slipped it behind there where it would kind of catch, because it's got the plug on it, and then kind of let it hang here until I'm ready for it. The big reason is that plug is a little larger than what will fit in this opening, so you want to slide it in there first and have it prepped and ready. Alright, so now we have our second bracket installed here on the driver's side, so we have both sides done, and now we can mount our light bar. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and mount this light bar. This bolt's a little long. Your kit's going to have a shorter bolt that's going to look a little bit better, but for the purpose of mounting this and testing out the light, we're going to go ahead and use these longer bolts because they fit. Alright, so now we have got our light bar mounted to our new bumper mounts. See, that looks really good. Got your matte black textured finish. Pretty impressed with that look. What do you think, guys? I think it's a cool setup for sure. Now, the last thing we need to do is make our connections to our power, and I'm going to show you the harness next. Alright, so now we're to the final part, the wiring, right? we pushed our wire back here, we got our plug, we pushed it behind the bumper, we're ready to connect it. Now this comes off on the driver's side, okay? This is what the harness looks like that's going to come with your 40-inch light bar if you got the 40-inch light bar version of the kit with your brackets. It's going to be cut to length. You're going to have a 3-way plug on the end. It's going to have a ground, and then it's going to have a little longer wire here that's going to go to your switches, or the optional backlight kit if you have purchased that wire kit as well. You can use that for your white wire. So you've got your red for your power, which is going to go to your switch, and you've got your black for your ground, which is going to go to the fender. Now, this is very important. This is a 40-inch curved radiance light bar. The radiance light bar puts out just short of 15 amps. The switches, number 1 and 2, are rated at 15 amps. Switch 1 or 2 can handle the radiance light bar. That shouldn't be an issue. You can hook that up direct with your red wire to one of the switches. However, if you connected an E-series light bar, which has a higher output than the radiance light bar, it's going to be more than 15 amps. So what you want to do in that case, or in case you wanted to connect the light bar to one of the other switches, you can do it the same way, one of the lower power switches. You'll take your factory wire harness, it'll look something like this in a bag. It came with the rigid light. You're going to open that up, okay? And what you want to do is just take the relay off and connect it to your custom harness here. And so what we're looking for, so here's your relay, all right? You're going to have 3 leads coming off of this relay. You're going to want, sorry, all right, here's 1 lead. This is very important. This is going to go to your battery, okay? So you've got a red, which is your power, and a black, which is your ground. This is going to connect to your battery. This way, the light is going to draw power from your battery instead of through those switches, because they're not rated high enough in that case. So there's your power for the battery. That leaves 2 more of these, okay? All right, so what you're going to do then is you are going to, this other section here, you're just going to cut it down. Just cut it right off here. You want to notate which one has the plug on it though. So first, let's make sure we know. This one has the plug on it, or this is your power to your light. So you want that to connect your ground, okay. Then you're going to take your factory harness here, your custom harness, I'm sorry. You're going to take your custom harness here that came with from SPV for your light kit, and you're going to connect this red to this red, and this black that has the ring on it, you're just going to cut that off and you're going to connect it to that black. That's going to give you your power to your lights, okay? All right, so that's going to give you direct power from the battery to your lights. Now you're going to have the 3rd set of wires here coming off of that. All right, so now we've got the other end, and you're going to have a blue wire, a black wire, and a red wire, okay? So this is very important. You do not need this red or black wire anymore. This is to power a switch if you were connecting to like a little toggle switch or something. So you want to cap those off. What I would recommend doing is, depending on where you want to mount this, you can cut this length of wire down some. So let's just cut it right here, just for now. All right, and then we'll strip our plastic off here a little bit. Now this black and this red, again, you do not want to use these, and you do not want them to touch anything because they are live. So what you'll want to do is you'll have some heat shrink, glue heat shrink in your kit. You'll just take that and cap these both off, and that way they're not going to supply power to anything, or they're not going to short out. This blue wire is actually going to be your trigger wire for your switch. So this is what you're going to want to connect to your switch now instead. So if this makes sense, okay, the reason you want to do this is because you need to think of this relay like a trigger, all right? So the relay is like a trigger. It gets power from the battery with these, okay? It sends that power direct through this red and black wire that we just cut off that you connect to your other plug, and it turns itself on and off with this blue wire. So the blue turns it on and off, the red and black with the rings get the power from the battery, and the red and the black here transfer that power from the battery to your light. So think of it like a triangle. On-off switch, power from the battery, power to the light. Okay. Again, you don't need to use this unless your light is higher than 15 amps, or if you have a switch that you're connecting it to, like switch 3, 4, 5, or 6, that are lower than 15 amps as well. Again, the radiance light bar, you kind of just buzz in there just perfect, just under 15 amps. So if you go with the radiance light bar, you're good. But again, this bumper mount kit really opens up the doors to a lot of options as far as higher powered E-series lights and everything else, in which you'll just use your relay that's included. All right, so let's talk about where we're going to run this wire, okay? All right, so here is our wire harness. All right, so behind the bumper, underneath of this shield, you will feed this wire with this plug from underneath of the truck across to there, okay? And then there's going to be a set of wires that's running along the frame there, and you can zip tie it up against those wires as you go along, okay? You're then going to feed that up here behind the battery. You're then going to feed that up here from underneath, behind the bumper, up here behind, you'll see where the battery box is. You're going to feed that up through there, and then you're going to have your wire like this, okay? Bring that over. You're going to have your ground loop. Okay, there's your ground loop. You're going to connect that here to the bolt on the fender wall, behind the battery, behind the washer fluid. Do you see that? Right there, where these other ones are connected. Then you're going to have your red and your white wire. Your red wire is going to connect to one of your switches, or one of your switch wires that you're going to pull down from behind the computer box right here. And your white wire can either be connected to another switch, which is your amber backlight if you got the radiance version, or it can be connected to the wire for the wire kit for the ignition with the radiance wire kit that we offer. So you can do it either way. All right, so we got our wiring hooked up, we've got our brackets on, we've got our light bar on, everything's solid. I mean, that's nice and solid. And now let's just test it out and see if it works. All right, hopefully you can see that. It is daylight, but our amber backlight's on. Hopefully you can see, at least you can see the rigid part. Of course, again, that's going to glow a lot more at nighttime. But we've got our amber backlight, and now we're going to go ahead and turn the light itself on. And there we go. Yeah, that's a pretty bright light. I think you'd be pretty impressed with the with this light bar. It's got a cool effect again with the amber backlight and the bright spot. It's curved, so it's going to cover a wide area. I was pretty impressed with it, and I think it's a great addition to your truck. One thing to note, and this is important, it will, because it is big, it will block the camera partially. You can see over it, but it does block the bottom half of the camera, so do keep that in mind. There's really no way around that. It's just one of those things. It just depends on what's the most important thing to you. If the camera is if full view of the camera is very important, obviously, then this may not be the right option for you. But there will be other applications available for mounting to this bumper bracket kit as well. So keep your eye out for those. And don't forget to check on spvparts.com. That's Sam Paul Victor, spvparts.com, for this light bar kit and for other Raptor parts and accessories as well. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.